G'day, my name's Chris and this is Flat Tank Journey. Welcome back to my little Project Velocette. But first, an update on the BSA. Now if you follow me on Facebook, and you can, it's Flat Tank Journey at Facebook, it's a personal blog. You'll see that I've been to the chrome platers this week, or the electroplaters to be more precise, because I'm getting some nickel plating done. And I dropped off a load of parts from the Beezer. I've also been to the engine builder and dropped off a piston for the BSA, and that's good. Check that out on Facebook as well and give me a follow if you want. So back to the Velocette, because it's easy work currently and it's kind of the work I like. So let's hop straight into the Velo and see what we can achieve. Got a few things I'm trying to get done. I grabbed the front wheel out of it because I don't really want the front wheel. Now, I don't know that it's correct, and I'm not losing a lot of sleep. I don't think the rim is correct. The hub, maybe, I'm not really sure. So the hub has a width of about 85 mil, 86, 87, so that will convert to something in old currency, you know, and it's got a 2 1/4 rim on it. It measures outside to outside just under 510 mil, and I haven't got an imperial tape with me, so I can't give you the other measurement. In my back shed, while I was cleaning up, I found a couple of bead edge rims, and one's a front wheel, and this one I think is a back wheel, because it's got a threaded hub on one side. The hub measures about 135, and the wheel measures about 57 or 570 mil. So it's about 2 inches bigger than that. So I'm guessing, and at some stage they changed the way they measured rims and tyres. We'd call this a 19 by 2 1/4 and take a tyre to go with it, you know, and 500 mil. I think they measure them from the inside. One of you will tell me that. This one is probably more likely to be called a 28 by 2. Yeah, 28 by 2. And it would have been 28 inches with the tyre on it. And what I'm really looking for is a 26. So this one measures 54 centimetres. And I'm guessing with a 26 by 2 or 2 1/4, we'd end up with 2 1/4 is about 60 mil each side. We'd end up with 560, so we'd be just under 2 feet. We'd be just over, so we might be close to 26. Oh, that's a bit confusing. What I really know is that 510 and 540 roughly are a lot closer. There's 3 centimetres difference. I reckon this is about right, and I'm going to try it in the front of the Velo. The hub measures about 95 mil, maybe 100. It's a bit hard to measure. I'm going to pop this in the Velo and see what it looks like. Right on, I'm really feeling that. That looks so much better. So I had a remeasure of the wheel, and so there's 30 mil difference. So that's 15 each side of the axle. Now this one's got an axle and nuts and bearings, and it's tightened up, and it sits pretty much in the middle of the forks, and the guard's got a little tweak in it, but that's not the end of the world. So, yeah, front wheel looks good. I still think it needs relaced and tidied up. I don't think it's a user in its condition, but, you know, to pluck it from the back shed, I reckon it looks pretty good. I'm not even sure why I had it, but I'm really happy with that. I started laying out the guard for stays, and I've put some tape across at 50 mil, and I've marked the back of the guard at 50 mil. And then I'll show you the stays and the brackets that I've been working on. Pulled the front guard off because it's it I want to try and make stays for first. Before I did, I marked 50mm back from the edge of the guard each side, and I ran a piece of tape over the top to give me a straight line. Did the same at the back, and that was cool. Arbitrarily, or because I thought it looked okay, I measured in 40mm from each side and put a punch mark right on the edge of the tape on both sides, so I'm halfway on the tape and halfway not, and I drilled 2 holes. And I did the same at the other end. Now, earlier in the week, I made these. Now, they're not super, and I didn't have the guards with me, but they're damn close. And I'm going to see if I can get these to fit up inside here. The profile's not quite the same, might have a bit of finessing to do. Things aren't going too badly. The profile of the mounting brackets, I just can't think of the right word, was not quite right. So I had to straighten them back out, like the back one here, and then I'll just mark heat and bend. So I've done the front one, and the front one looks pretty good. Not perfectly straight. Maybe able to adjust that with a little bit of hole movement, enlarging the holes. I've got bolts in it for now. I'm going to heat these two and then get them into shape, and we'll see how we go. Just mopping the water off that. I actually went and cooled it down because that's how I burn myself. And I do that regularly. Let's try and bend the other side without making a mess. This torch is old and a little bit dirty, and it doesn't light super well. But once you get it adjusted, we'll go with a little bit more heat this time. And see if we can get it to bend a bit easier. Try not to melt the handle of your multi-grips. And bend. Much better. Much better. Application of a bit more heat. Let me cool that down and we'll come back. Mop the water off. And we can see we've got 2 wings on it now. On the front of the guard, I arbitrarily decided I'd leave 20mm hang out. And 20mm. And just bear with me, I'm just going to disconnect those gas bottles because they can leak. Right, that's better. Don't want sparks and gas all in the same place. Ends up with burnt grease. Lots of little daggy bits. But now I've got 20mm aside. I've already got a centre line marked down the centre of those from when I drilled the holes in them. I'm going to mark 10mm in each from each side, and I'm going to drill a hole. I'll bring it back when I've done it. That's a bit boring. Right, I've had a bit of a go at that, and that feels pretty good. Now, because these are handmade, I've marked a left hand and a right hand side because I'm not great at fabrication sometimes, and they don't always fit the opposite way. Well, they fit one way better than the other because you bent them on the guard or whatever. Let's get this tightened back up. I'm just using 6mm metric bolts for now. There's 6.5mm holes that I've put in everything because I'm going to hot rivet those later, and we'll get a more authentic look with the hot rivets. That one, much better than that one. Always is. You always get better at it. I'm going to pop it back on the bike, have a look at it, and then we'll start talking about these stays that I've built, or partially built. Pretty happy with that. You know, for something I've just made up as I've gone along, I'm pretty happy. I think that's going to work. I think it's in about the right place. They look about right. They could do with a bit of tweaking, and they tweak as you tighten them up. But all in all, that's not a bad result. Once that's got a tyre on it, that rim's going to sit tight to that front guard, and it's going to look good. These are guard pieces I've made. This is some 1/4-inch round bar, and in the middle I've got about 1200 of it, a metre I think. In the middle I've rolled over a piece of, I think it's 19 by 3, and I've welded at the back, a bit of booger weld there, and it's rolled over and it's in at the front. What I'm hoping to do is to find a mounting point somewhere here. And there's a little hole already there for me. I'm tipping that's 1/4-inch cycle thread. I'm going to wind a bolt into it. Then I'm going to make a hole in this where I want it. Cut off the scrap, of course. Give it a bit of shape. And then we can look at tweaking it, bending the bars into shape. What do you think? This might be a bit hard to see, but I've given a polish to a flat section around the hole where I think a mudguard stay went. And I want this to screw into there. Now I've already screwed that in once and it went in. And I'm pretty satisfied that that's going to look all right. I'm going to get a shorter bolt though. Right, back with a shorter bolt. I don't need to be screwing and unscrewing your 35mm of bolt when I've got a 1/2 inch long bolt that will do. At least I think it will. Let me tighten that up. Right, now that's nice and tight. There's actually a lug, and it's really hard to see just here that this bottom piece has been brazed on or sweated on, whatever you want to call it, to the fork legs. And the roll over the top of the bar is sitting against that, away from the lug. I'm pretty satisfied. I think I'm gonna get the torch, heat right here, and bend it to approximately where I want. I want this piece in line with that. This would cold bend, but I'm heating it because I want it really close to the bracket. I don't want it a mile away from the bracket. And it will bend where it's hot. You can see how easy that bends. I'm going to put the torch down and hold the whole lot because it's bending, it's spinning on the nut, on the bolt. And that one's bent a little bit away from where I'd like it to have bent, but it's not bad. Getting the bracket straight while the stays are in the right place is the key to it. That's pretty close. I'll make the other one and then I've got to put lipstick on the pig, meaning I've got to round this bracket off, cut some shape into it, make it look like it might have come out of a factory. Currently, it looks like a big guy made that in his own shed, and that's not really what I'm looking for. I'll make second side. You can see the shiny mark. I should have said in the first side, the hole is 1 inch from the top of the roll, and I've cut it off at 35 mil. It sounded good. That was really the only reason. There's no other reason. An inch sounded like it gave me room, and 35 mil meant that I had room to cut and shape the end of the mounting bracket around the bolt. Let me get the torch fired up. I think I'll do the back side first. Try and get a bit closer to the mounting bracket. And once it's hot enough, it just bends really easily. That's a better job of those ones. They're going to be okay. I've got mountains of length, as you can see. way too much, but I might mark that now. I'll still leave myself some length before I take these off. They'll be a little bit less unruly to deal with. I've left 10 centimetres, maybe. Plenty. I'll have to cut them off at the right size in due course. No sweat. I'm feeling okay about this. To be honest, I don't think it's hot, it's warm. So, there it is. I cut inwards, cut a triangle out, and then I've attempted to round it up a bit so that we end up with something that maybe, I don't know, looks a little bit more, I don't know, still looks homemade, but a little bit more factory maybe. I'll get a biggish washer behind it. And I hope that you all think it looks okay, because I don't mind it. I just need the washer to centre up because it's a slightly big washer. And what I could do with is some washers with 1/4 inch holes that were a little bit bigger. Have a closer look. There we go. A little bit of shape cut to it. Roundness. Could do with a good clean up with a file. But you know what? That looks okay. I'm going to live with that. I'm going to live with the stays. I think they're going to be all right. Let me crack on my own, and I'll do a bit more, and then we'll come back and have a look at the whole lot. Well, a little bit of work in that, but I've done the 2 brackets. Same as the front, no big deal. I just straighten them out, drill the holes, bolt them on, and then bend them. Put the one in the midpoint, and it's all good. Let's get it back on the bike, eh? Rightio. Sometime later, that has absolutely fought me all the way. And I have no idea why. So I've just put a flat washer, a spring washer and a dome nut on that. Let me get a spanner. And I'm putting the dome nut and the hardware I want in there now, so that I know I have it. I don't have to go searching for it later. I don't know why, it's just what I like to do. Rightio, there's the stays. Come around and have a bit of a better look. I put a set of brackets there and a set of brackets there. Now I have the issue of where to put the stays on. There's a hole each side that the pack rack used to be mounted to. And I've taken the pack rack off, and at this stage I'm planning on leaving it off. 2 reasons I like bikes without pack racks. Second, I'm not actually sure it belongs to the bike. I think it does, but I'm not positive. Let me find the right size hardware for this. It doesn't look like 1/4, it looks like 5/16. Let me find that, and then we'll get on to drilling some holes and bending up some stays like we did the last ones. I've been working away at these to get these into a condition where I might start bending them. I've put a little bit of lipstick on that pig and rounded it up a little bit. Needs a bit more of a clean up. It's not ready. I've found some short 5/16 cycle thread bolts, and they go right in. And then, you know, for the purist, we haven't damaged the frame or done anything we shouldn't. Let me get the other one. We'll bolt that on too. I've got too long a bolt in this side, so I'll just change that bolt over, get a short one. Picked up a spring washer while I was there. A little complication on this side, we got a brake plate mount and a few other bits and pieces that we need to think about. So I'll show you that when we get there. So here it is. It needs to be bent up to here and over to there. I want the bracket to look right. I don't want one bend to be more than another, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to bend one or bend both and then tweak them backwards and forwards until I get in the right spot. Let me get the gas bottle set up. With a little bit of pressure, as soon as it's hot enough, you can bend it. It's getting real close. I'd probably like to bend this one a little bit more. And I'm probably satisfied with how it looks. I'll show you a bit closer. Let's spin the whole thing around and try and do the other side and make it look similar. I have a habit of putting too much fuel into it to fire it up, and then it doesn't want to work properly. I'm going to do the top one first because down here the stay is against the bench and it will bend easily. So I want the bend as close to the bracket as I can get it. I need to come around the seat. And then I'm actually bending it inwards a little bit. That's not bad. If you can't see, I'll show you in a minute. Actually don't look too bad. I'm happy with those, I think. Best thing about these things is you can always come back and have another go. I'm going to cut these off a bit of length and then feed them through the guards, and let's have another look. That stuff's as hard as my head. Small interruption by family. Now we're back at it. I've cut these brackets a bit shorter and they've cooled down a little bit, but not a lot. So I might have to cool them off. Now let's see if we can feed them through the holes. So you do have to spring them a little bit to get them to go through those holes at this point. I think when I made the original set for my Elliot, I made the stays, left a loose fit here, put them in, and then welded them while they were in. At this point though, I've made a few sets of these now, and I think you can pop them in the bike, and with a little blowtorch like I have, as long as you haven't painted anything, it absolutely makes no difference. I'm not doing any damage to anything. But at this point, the guard is pulled to the left because only one stays in there. Let me grind that little sharp burr. All right, that had cut Chris's fingers written all over it. At this point, we're pulling the guard left and right and all sorts of ways with the stays. But everything tightens up pretty super. Actually, that hasn't sent it up too bad. I'll put the stand clip back on and we'll go from there. Here's the Velo and here's the guards with stays and brackets and bolts, and I feel pretty good about it. The guard, well, I've got it a little bit looser here so it isn't pinched as tightly. The stays, now they're long. You can see that. Actually, once I'm satisfied that I've got things in about the right place, I'll cut them shorter and thread them. I can then use a nut at the bottom to straighten them and get them in exactly the right place. They don't need a lot of change. This front guard looks pretty good. Actually really satisfied with it. It looks good, happy about it. The little mounting tabs, well, I think they've come out all right. They could do with a file and a clean up. But you know what? If they were nickel plated or painted black with the fork legs, nobody would see them. But they would look really good. Very satisfied. The front wheel, that actually looks better than I expected. I don't know why I had this wheel or where it came from, but I think it looks really period correct and it looks about right. Yes, I believe it should have a front brake, and the front brake would have, had gubbins that mounted to this. I believe it probably had a front stand, and maybe I should have used this tab, but I'm not going to lose sleep. I think the tab I've used was the tab for mounting the mudguard stays. It looks good. Down the back. Now the back's equally as good, if not better. I'm really pleased. The guard looks super. These are so much better than my previous effort. It bolts up nice. The stays look good. This is 5/16 bolt, and I've left the tab a little bit bigger just to give a bit more strength. they bent really easily and they look good in the guard. I think I have everything about square and about straight. The rear wheel isn't centered in the frame, so don't stress over where the wheel's sitting, and it's actually sitting to one side. I need to center up the wheel and then use the wheel as a reference to center up the guard. But all in all, it looks really good. I'm going to have clearance here for the brake plate to bolt in and hopefully a rear stand. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. But that's a pretty good look. That's Flat Tank Journey for another week. And that's the work I've done on my little Velo today. I think it's starting to look really super. The guard stays are probably 2 days worth of work for me. First was getting them welded to the brackets and making the brackets that go underneath, the bridges or whatever they call them, still don't know. And secondly then getting the guards off, mounting the bridges, mounting and bending them. I'm really, really pleased with how it looks. It's not all I've done for the week. The beezer has been pulled apart to have nickel plating done, and I've done a little bit of painting to the front end just to tidy some bits and pieces up. All in all, that's it for the week though. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, or even better, send me a comment and say g'day. Cheers. Have a good one.